padaya Krishna prasthaya bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschachadishatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Dio. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming early in the morning. Many things you can do in the morning in Rishikesh, I'm sure, but you chose to be here. We're so happy you're here. We're going to continue to do Kirtan. We're actually going to invite Badahari Prabhu to come and sing, which is so wonderful. And then we're going to have a workshop at 11:30. So lots to look forward to still this morning. And of course, there is going to be the evening program as well, which we can speak more about later. So thank you for being here. Let's continue to chant, and Hare Krishna.
Good morning, everybody. Hare Krishna. I wonder, could I ask you to move forward a little bit? Is that okay? I can ask, I know, right? You've probably heard this many times before, but the Kirtan is not a performance. It's we're all singing together. That's the beauty of it. And I've been doing Kirtan for quite some time, and for me, the joy is hearing you sing. That's what keeps us going. So thank you, as Pramanjali said. It's early in the morning. There's many things you could do, so thank you for joining us. All the way from Australia. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ushtatyadeshada Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everyone please. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Rama Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Louder all together. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more, please, everybody below. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama One more, everybody. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Just one more, below. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram,
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Everybody below. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. One more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Go Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari. Thank you. Hare Krishna. There's Narada Muni was, no, actually Krishna was speaking to Narada Muni. And he said, Naham Tistami Vaikunte. I'm not in Vaikunta. Whoa, Krishna's not in Vaikunta. That's where this is abode, right? Vaikunta, Goloka. But he said, Naham Tistami Vaikunte. I'm not in Vaikunta. Yogi Nam Hriday Shiva, and I'm not in the hearts of the yogis. Whoa. All the yogis are meditating upon Paramatma within the heart. He said, I'm not there. But then he said, Tat Tat Tishtami Narada. Oh, Narada. He said, where are you then? Yatra Gayanti Madbhakta. It's where my devotees are singing about me. I'm there. I go there, Krishna says. So thank you, dear devotees, for singing so beautifully, and I think we can feel Krishna's presence. So we have a very special guest today, Sri Prahlad Prabhu. He's, wow, what can we say about Sri Prahlad? He's a legend. And all the way from England, playing hooky from his professor duties, just to join us. Oh, you're on leave. Okay, good. It's legal. Anyway, we're grateful you're here. Thank you very much. Let's give a warm welcome to Sri Prahlad.
Good morning. So, we have 40 minutes together, even 35 minutes together. So, I wanted to speak to you. Our topic is the Bhagavata Purana, the premier text on bhakti. We are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita. It's a text that we emphasize in our tradition. But there is another text called the Bhagavata Purana, or Srimad Bhagavatam. And so I wanted to share something of this with you. And feel free, if you have any questions or reflections as I talk, to raise your hand, or even if you're so driven to share something, you can even just speak. The Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses, 700 Sanskrit verses. The Bhagavad Gita is 700 Sanskrit verses. The Bhagavata Purana, or Srimad Bhagavatam, is 18,000. It's a very comprehensive work, and I can't provide you, I mean, we could, but for any depth, I won't try to provide you an overview of the entirety of that text, but I will focus for you today on the first canto, or at least the first section, the first question of the Bhagavata Purana. So the setting for the Bhagavata Purana is Naimisharanya. Naimisharanya, a forest. It's not too far from here, between here and Delhi. You can still visit Naimisharanya, the forest of Naimisha, the non-blinking forest, literally. Even to this day, it is a holy place. And 5,000 years ago, this is how the text begins. 5,000 years ago, many, many sages, yogis, they congregated in this forest, Naimisharanya, because of a concern they had. Their concern was that Kali Yuga is coming. So, who's familiar with Kali Yuga? We all are, right? And we're very much embedded in it. but who would like to briefly say what Kali Yuga is? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A good synopsis. Anyone like to add to that? So, at this age of deceit and corruption and quarrel, age of ignorance. Yeah. Very good. So, in the Vedic scheme, there are 4 ages. The age of truth, Satya Yuga. And Bhagavad Purana talks about this quite comprehensively. The Golden Age, Treta Yuga, the age of, Satya Yuga is the age of meditation. Treta Yuga, the Silver Age, Dvapara Yuga, the Copper Age, and then the 4th, the Iron Age of quarrel and deceit and hypocrisy. And so their time spans are given in the Vedic texts. It's a commonly understood and agreed sense of the progression of time in the universe. Satyuga, the longest, and this age when people are very pure and enlightened. All of humanity are enlightened beings. And then as time progresses, in contrast with the Western understanding of time, as time progresses, then those good qualities diminish and other qualities become more prominent until we arrive at the Iron Age. So 5,000 years ago was this transition point from the last age, the Copper Age, to the Iron Age. And the yogis were worried. What will happen? What will be the hope for people living in the Iron Age of quarrel and hypocrisy? And so they decided to gather together and perform a great yajna, a great sacrifice. For 1,000 years, they would stay at Naimisharanya, the unblinking forest. Unblinking because they're keeping their eyes open to what is happening. And they're keeping their eyes open to perform this sacrifice for the benefit of all beings. And so there is some nice metaphor also to this choice of these sages to gather in the forest, because the forest of trees in Sanskrit literature are used as a metaphor for sages or saintly people. Why? Any ideas why a saint might be compared to a tree or a tree to a saint? Because of? Oh, their stillness. Okay, yeah, that's nice. So they're still, not having to move around and check things and be places to feel fulfilled. Good. So they're giving nature, yeah. What do the trees give? They provide fruits, they provide shade. Yeah, oxygen, yeah, that's right. So they take the nitrogen, they transform it for us into oxygen that we can breathe. Yeah, so saints are compared to trees quite frequently in the Bhagavad Purana and other Sanskrit literature. There's also tolerance. So they give shade and oxygen and fruits and leaves and bark and wood. Their branches are also. They give and they tolerate the elements. They tolerate offenses. They tolerate contributions from dogs or whatever. That's so tolerant like a tree. Chaitanya, he says, if you can be tolerant like a tree, giving and ready to serve and to tolerate that maybe you're not recognized for your contribution. He says that that's one of the qualities that we should have to cultivate bhakti, this tolerance of a tree. So this gathering of these sages in the forest of trees, it is very significant. They want to give. They're concerned about the well-being of society. And they come together to perform a sacrifice. And one among them, his name is Sutta Goswami. He is considered to be most spiritually realized. And so he is delegated to speak transcendental knowledge to the sages. And so the question they ask is, how can the people of Kali be delivered in this conference now? A conference of all the great yogis and munis and rishis. Some say that their sacrifice is actually the discussion. From a bhakti perspective, so for some people, sacrifice would be the pouring of ghee on a sacred fire and offering oblations up. But then there's another understanding that the actual sacrifice for our time is to talk about these spiritual subjects, to purify consciousness, and to so there's another idea of what the actual sacrifice they did. One is the pretext, and the other is this discussion where the Bhagavata is revealed. So their question, how can people of Kali Yuga be delivered? And the answer that Sutta Goswami gives is that this Bhagavata Purana, or Srimad Bhagavatam, it has risen like the sun to give light to the people in this. Someone said it is a dark age. In this dark age of Kali, there is a sun that has risen, and it will give light, and human society will be able to see by the light of this Bhagavata. And it has appeared at the end of Dvapara Yuga, that last copper age, when Krishna was present on earth, and he left to his own abode. So he's left, and with his leaving of the earth is deprived. It becomes, it's like you have a great wealth and you lose it. You lost your wallet, or you lost your inheritance, or you lost your investments. And so the earth had this great wealth. Krishna was present on earth in Vrindavan, 5,000, he's gone. And so the earth feels she's lost her treasure. But then Sutta Goswami says, but this Bhagavata Purana has come as Krishna, as another incarnation to give light in this age of Kali. And so then the sages say, how did the Bhagavata Purana come to be written? And I guess that's a question that you all might be having as well. Such a wonderful text. It is like the sun giving light. It is like Krishna reappearing in the form of sacred sound or sacred text. How did it come to be composed? That's one question they have. They understand Vyasa is the author. So how did Vyasa come to write it? How did his son Sukadev come to speak it? How did Parikshit, a great king, come to hear it? So these are all great questions, and we will come there. We will try to address these questions in the time that we have remaining. So for this next, how did Vyasa come to write it? It's also very wonderful and very instructive. So we hear these stories, and we're also getting education, right? We're also learning so much, and that's the whole 18,000 verses of the Bhagavata. We hear beautiful stories, and we are getting enlightenment as we're hearing. So Vyasa, we are moving now from the forest to the Himalayas. We are all at the foothills of the Himalayas at Rishikesh. But if you see the sign on the road, I saw the sign when I was driving it, Badrinath, or Badri, straight ahead on that road out there. Keep driving up that way. You'll come to a place called Badri. or Badrinath. And there Vyas has his ashram, Badrik ashram. And Sutta Goswami, he told the sages, Badri, this ashram, Badrinath, where Vyas resides, it is a place where the Saraswati flows, and Vyas, he was there in his maturity. What did Vyas do? What is Vyas famous for? Okay, Mahabharata, very good. The Vedas, yeah. So the name Vyas means to divide. Vyas has compiled the Vedas. The Veda is eternal, transcendental subject, but it is given to us in different times. We have rishis who will write it down or make human society aware of it. So the eternal Veda, Vyas has divided into 4 divisions. He's taught it to his students. He's written the Mahabharata. That's his own composition, the history of the Pandavas and the history of the Kuru family. But he feels, when we meet him in the story, in the beginning of the Bhagavata Purana, he's feeling sad. And that might surprise us. The great Vyas, he's feeling sad. Saints are supposed to be peaceful and still, satisfied. And how is it that the greatest of the sages is feeling sad or morose, or did he not undertake his sadhana properly? Has he not disciplined his mind? Is there some fault in his practice that he's feeling sad? As he's sitting by the bank of the Saraswati, feeling this despondency, he hears the sound of a veena. The veena is a very beautiful stringed instrument, a very ancient Vedic instrument, pre-invasion instrument. So he hears the sound of the veena, and there is a very famous bhakti teacher who plays the veena. Who can say who that is? Narada Muni. Narada Muni bhajai veena. Radhika Ramana name. Narada Muni. So Narada Muni is the teacher of Vyas. He hears the veena. He understands, oh, my guru is coming. He stands to receive him. And Vyas, Narad can see that his disciple is sad. He asks him, what is the cause of your despondency? And Vyas actually can't say. He doesn't know. Sometimes we will be in a position, in a funk, in some state, and we don't quite know why we are distressed. And so he wasn't quite sure. He said, I don't know. I have written the Mahabharata. I have divided the Vedas. I have tried to make the Vedic way accessible to all people by giving different branches of the Vedas with different practices, making it very broad and accessible to people of Kali Yuga. But still there is some sadness in my heart, and I don't know why. And Narada, he gave the diagnosis. The guru, Narad Muni, he gave the diagnosis. He said, Vyas, you have done incredible work, but your work is also confusing. Maybe some of us have experience of this. The Vedas are so broad and so vast, they can also be confusing. What are they actually trying to teach us? Some of the descriptions or teachings might even appear contradictory. So Vyasa is trying to accommodate people in all different stages of spiritual realization and being very broad in that sense. But it can also be confusing. And so Narada says, you have done great monumental work, but it is also confusing. You haven't given the essence in a clear way. And that's why you're feeling despondent. You have to write another book, another text, which gives the essence. And that essence is bhakti. What is bhakti? Someone said devotion. Yeah, good. That's a nice, succinct way of describing bhakti. Sometimes we say love. Sometimes we'll say devotion. Devotional service is how our teacher would often describe bhakti, which is quite wonderful because it has the feeling, the sentiment, but then also the activity. The feeling of devotion and then the activity of service. So it's more than love in the sense that love is a feeling, devotion is a feeling, devotional service is active as well. And so Narada says, you have to write a book that is focused exclusively on bhakti. And he said the wonderful thing about bhakti is that it is applicable for the most spiritually advanced, the most spiritually mature souls, as well as even for those who are very simple and not, he says, even children, they can benefit from bhakti. So whether a great transcendentalist like Sukadeva Goswami or Narada Muni himself, or even a child, they can benefit from bhakti. And so that was his critique of Vyas, being so broad in what he presented from the Vedic canon that it confuses. He's trying to accommodate everyone. Narada Muni's point was, bhakti is broad. It can accommodate everyone. You didn't need to do what you did and confuse others. And then he tells his own story, which is a nice way to teach. We can teach from a theoretical perspective, but we can also teach by our own personal experience. And so Narada Muni told his own story, the story of his own journey and progression in spiritual elevation and spiritual in bhakti. And the story was, we can't quite do this. We can just do this life. In this life, 30 years ago, this happened to me, and I met this teacher, or I read this book, and it set me on a trajectory. Narada Muni told his story from his previous life. In my previous life, I was a 5-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old child living in an ashram, not even an ashram, in a dharamshala, like a hotel actually, where tourists, where travelers would pass through. And my mother, she was the maid. She would clean and just make the facilities to accommodate the travelers in this dharamshala. And at one point, there was the 4 months of the rainy season. So even today, during the 4 months of the rainy season in India, sadhus stop traveling. They stay in one place because it's too wet, too muddy, too difficult to travel. Better to stay in one place and focus on personal spiritual sadhana practice. Travel is for others. Staying in the one place and having some disciplined practice, that is for oneself. And then as we nourish ourselves, then we can give more to others as well. So that was the tradition. Chaitanya, he would also stop in one place during the 4 months of the rainy season. And so these sadhus, they stopped and they stayed in that dharamshala. His mother was doing some service, and this 4-year-old boy, he was also doing some service for these saints who were staying in the dharamshala. And they were Bhagavatas. They were topmost bhakti yogis. So Narada would hear their Kirtan. Narada would hear, this boy would hear their kirtan, he would hear their discussions, and something happened in his heart. Like we all can experience in kirtan, something happens in our heart moves. When we hear the discussions on bhakti, our heart moves. And so that happened for Narada Muni. His heart moved and bhakti awakened. Our understanding is that it is always there, but it may be dormant. But then when we come in contact with other bhaktas, then something, the gas gets turned up and the fire becomes large. And it consumes us. And so Narada Muni, he was awakened to this bhakti, and the saints left, and he felt such separation from them. He wanted to follow them, but he had his mother to care for, or she was caring for him. They were all each had in the world. He didn't know who his father was. He was not part of the story. It was just his mother and he. But then one day she was bitten by a snake. She passed away, and this small boy, 4 or 5-year-old boy, was orphaned. So he had nothing and no one in the world, but he had this bhakti that had been awakened in his heart, and so he wanted to find those saints, and he traveled far and wide through cities and towns, mountains, valleys, across rivers and streams in search of these saints, but he never found them again. So he stopped in one place by a sacred lake, took his bath after many, many months of search, and just sat on the bank of the lake and applied the practice that he had learned, chanting the holy name, meditating on Krishna. And in time, Krishna appeared before him. He had a vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who said to him, "I'm appearing to you now to give you a vision that you know I am here. You're not yet ready, but I'm giving you this vision to encourage you to continue your practice. And after this life, you'll always be with me. You will always experience my presence." And so that was Narada's story. He ended that life, and then he was reborn as a son of Brahma, as Narada Muni. And so why is Narada Muni telling that story to Vyasa? To show the power of bhakti, yeah. Even for a small child. Even for a small child, that he was able to practice it and to have the effect. So he's showing Vyasa, this applies whether a child or whether an advanced sage. Narada is now an advanced sage. Bhakti is relevant and important, and it's a simple, profound practice and way of being in the heart, way of being in love with God, one that can be cultivated and developed. And so he said to Vyasa, this is the gift that you must give to the world. And so now understanding his purpose, Vyasa had been trying to make an offering for the benefit of human society, but now he understood how he had to improve upon that by giving a single text. And so he entered into a meditation. And in his meditation, he saw something most profound and wonderful. He saw Krishna. He saw the material nature personified, and he saw all the souls, you and I. He saw us in his vision. Krishna. And in Krishna's shadow, just behind him, was the personified material nature, Durga. And between them were all of us souls who have the choice. Where are we going to look? Where are we going to be giving our attention? What will be our position? And this vision is most profound and philosophical. So he sees God, he sees the material nature, and he sees the souls. Three ontologies. Three ontologies. The Supreme Godhead, Spirit, matter, and the souls that can choose either spirit or matter. Supreme consciousness, matter, that is apparently unconscious, and the souls that are conscious but minute. And when we choose to engage with the material nature, we assume material identity. We think, I am this body, aham mameti. I am a man, I'm a woman, I'm Australian, I'm American, I'm Indian, we assume all of these identities that are related to matter, but are not actually the identity of the soul. And so Vyas understood, I have to write a book, a text that will help the souls choose for their best benefit, to choose the supreme consciousness, to choose spirit over matter. And for those souls that have chosen to engage with the material nature, I must write a text that will help them to be purified and to be freed from material conditioning and to return in their loving relationship with Krishna. So with that vision, he started to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so I've told you 2 or 3 stories. I told you about the sages who met in the forest, who were worried about Kali Yuga. I told you about their question, how can the people of Kali Yuga be delivered? And the answer was given as this sacred text, Bhagavata Purana, which is like the sun. How did the text come to be written? So we told you that story as well, an origin story. The Bhagavata Purana actually has a few different stories of how it came to be written, because it's not written in any one time. It is also, the teaching is eternal, but it comes to be written at certain times in history. And so how did it come to be written? How did it come to be spoken? This is one of those stories. Vyasa's sadness or his despondency, and the diagnosis given by his teacher, Narada. And so then the third story was the story of Narada's previous life, how he had been a conditioned soul, just a child, but he had experienced something and received enough faith that he was able to apply this practice and achieve the most elevated spiritual position in one life. And then from there, how Vyas had a vision and decided, which gave him understanding of how to write this text. So any questions or reflections? We have a few minutes. Something that's been provoked by hearing these few stories. The meeting, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's revealed to him in his heart. Yeah. So the Bhagavata Purana gives other stories from earlier of how the Bhagavata is received by Brahma from Krishna at an earlier time. And then Brahma teaches Narada. Narada teaches Vyas. So this vision that Vyas has in his heart, in his meditation, is by the grace of Narada Muni. But the teaching is eternal. Yeah, very good. Yeah, yeah. So the vision of Vyasa was at a later time, much earlier, and that story comes also in the Bhagavata. There's how Brahma receives this from Narada. Sorry, Brahma receives this from Krishna, from Vishnu, and teaches to Narada. Very good question. Yeah, so the teaching is eternal. Sat Sanatana Dharma. Yes? Welcome. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for reflecting that back. Yeah, it was very, very. So, an ancient metaphor, and I'm appreciating your reflecting on this more deeply as well. Thank you for sharing that. Here, and then we'll come to you. Yeah. Material energy or material nature. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, interesting question. So, Chayeva yasya bhuvanani vibharti durga ichanurupamapi yasya chates chatesa. The Brahma Samhita says that I adore Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose shadow is the chit potency. The shadow of the chit potency is seen in this world as Durga. So, when we turn from the sun, turn away from the sun, what do we see? We see the shadow, yeah? So when we turn Bahirmukha, when we turn from Krishna, then we see Durga, we see the material nature. She is his energy only, yeah? She is his reflection, his shadow. So it's not that we will miss something when we are engaged in his service. So her original personality is as Sri Radha. Sri Radha is in serving mode. And when we take Sri Radha's mood of seva, of service, then when we're serving in love, the soul is fully satisfied and rightly situated. When we turn away and we want to enjoy for ourselves, then we are seeing Durga, the material nature, and we're wanting to possess and exploit and enjoy it selfishly. We don't miss. When we become selfless and when we serve in love, we don't miss being selfish. Then we are rightly situated. But as long as we are interested in taking and exploiting and possessing, we are never satisfied. Okay, yeah. So that is the position of the soul, tata, tatashta shakti. So there is the spiritual nature, antaranga shakti. There is the material nature, bahiranga, the external material nature. And in between is the soul, tata. The example is given like the line on the the seashore. Where is that place, that line? There's land and there's water, and somewhere between there is a line, and that is the soul. That is the Tatashta Shakti. So we are the marginal nature in between. We are always there. That is always our position. We are small, but when we become overwhelmed and think, I am matter, then we're not in harmony or balance. But when we recognize our position as soul, as Atman, and the soul's nature is, because the soul is Anu, is small, is to be in service to the Supreme Soul. When we are situated like that, we are in harmony and in balance. Sure. Yeah. So that phrase that you cited is from the Ishyavasya Upanishad. Tena tyaktena bunjita magradha kasvasvidhanam kurvaneveha karmani jijivisechatagam samaha. Saying to live in this world, Ishyavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. We should live in this world knowing well to whom everything belongs. And when we live in that way, taking what is our quota, when we live in and recognizing well to whom it belongs, when we live in that way, then we can live, we can drink the nectar of immortality, the Upanishad says. So that's how to live in the world. What you're describing is how we live while we are in this material nature. So rather than being fully ignorant and conditioned and just trying to exploit the material nature, the Upanishad is telling us, as long as we are in the world, you live in the world like this. Recognize this body is given to me. I am Atman. I have this body. These facilities are given to me as a custodian. I will use them for seva. That's as long as we are in this body, and we need it. It's a valuable vehicle for us to make spiritual progress. But we will not stay here. We should not stay here because it is not our actual home. This is for the place for mrityu samsara. It is the place for repeated birth and death for conditioned souls. So we will free ourselves of this material. Well, we will be freed by a practice of bhakti. We will receive grace, and we will be freed from the cycle of material conditioning. As long as we are here, then what you're saying is, we will take what we have, knowing well to whom it belongs, and we will engage in seva. Very good. Thank you. All right, we are at time. So I will thank you all very much for this opportunity to share with you Bhagavata Purana. We just discussed a few chapters. There are 18,000 verses for you to dive deep and be nourished. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.